UFC 322 is in the books. This took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City, New York. In the main event for the UFC welterweight title, Islam Makhachev defeats Jack Della Maddalena via unanimous decision across the board with scores of 50-45. Islam Makhachev will probably be your pound-for-pound number one fighter in the world after this. Obviously is now a two-time, or I should say two-division, not simultaneous, but has belts in two different divisions, and is now the reigning, as we indicated, welterweight champion in his first fight up at 170 pounds. There's a lot to say about the fight itself. I think I want to start with what I saw out of Islam. Honestly, this was kind of easy for him. Easy is not quite the right word, but I mean, because the preparation is hard and it makes them very, very prepared. But like in terms of the adversity that he faced in this contest, this is not even his hardest UFC fight. I mean, dude, he took way more damage against Dustin Poirier. Way more. Dude, Islam Makhachev is a fucking marvel. As I indicated during the course of the broadcast, and this is not something that's not like, you know, this is not like widely known or something, but his stand-up is, when he's using his stand-up to set up takedowns, it looks a little wonky. But when he's using it, particularly to counter-strike, his slipping and then reaction time, and then his ability to just change up rhythm where it looks like he's striking with you, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's launching into the wrestling. It is quite remarkable. And that was on display tonight. But the reality of what was really on display to me was two things. Number one, they knew what Craig Jones had to offer. And obviously, as I've said before, I have great respect for Craig Jones, and I think he's done an enormous amount of good in terms of changing how jiu-jitsu kind of functionally operates inside both competitive jiu-jitsu, but certainly within MMA as well. Islam's team was ready for it, whether this is Z-guard, which he uses a lot, whether this is, you know, octopus guard to sit up and around, whether this is various ways to turtle, whether it's what I call the fake judo, where he's hitting these harai goshis from stand-up, whatnot. They knew all the things that he was going to try, Jack was going to try, and Islam shut them down before basically any of them really ever got started. So the first thing I want to say was Islam came super well prepared. Super well prepared. But the more important part was that, dude, Islam made a point during fight week when they asked him about, like, hey, what about the Craig Jones influence? And again, I love Craig and I think his influence is real. And to the extent that JDM was in this at all, I think is in large part a credit to Craig. But one thing he did say that I also think in Islam's defense, he obviously proved to be quite right, which was, yeah, listen, you can bring a guy like that in and they can help you, but that's not the same as a lifetime of wrestling. It's not the same as a lifetime of grappling. It's just not the same. Like the amount of things you're going to know and the amount of ways you're going to be able to make that work is just so significantly different. And that was that's true more broadly, and that was absolutely true in this fight. Let me give you two examples. Number one, I mentioned those throws that JDM likes to try. They're not even real throws, but he'll throw up a harai goshi, right? And the harai goshi is if there's two legs, one goes across them or to the outside of them. Uchimata goes in the middle, right? So it's not an Uchimata, it's harai goshi. So he's throwing up a harai goshi. And against Bilal, what would it do? It would rotate Bilal so far away that he could pull his own underhook out, and now they're facing off. It was just a way to create a scramble. It was a way to create space to then get a scramble going. He tried some of the stuff with Islam, but dude, Islam's reaction time in the clinch to make sure that he never got bowled over, could keep hip-to-hip contact if he needed, a hard whizzer, hips facing the mat. He's able to reconstitute the position in a way that, like, even guys like Bilal Muhammad couldn't do, who's a very good fighter. Islam's got this insane depth of feel, not just knowledge, but a feel of positions such that, yes, was he prepared for some of these particular attacks? Yes. But the reason why he was so able to nimbly defeat them is also because they took specific preparation for what they were going to face and married that with his natural understanding of the feel for these positions, what makes them work, what makes them not work, and how to react very quickly to reconstitute it or reconsolidate top position. So he throws Islam, but Islam maintains that tight whizzer, hip to hip, hips facing the mat, and then runs back, and so it just doesn't work. Or he tries to Granby over, and instead Islam is able to capture it and rotate, come at an angle, and then push him up into the fence. And then on top, he was constantly threatening many things, whether it was the pass. He was using obviously part of the crossface to flatten him out to threaten the pass. When that didn't work, he would come behind the head to then threaten the Kimura. That would get him to roll. Now you're setting up going behind the back on the Darce or various other opportunities there. Like, they had the sequence built in. And dude, Islam apportions his weight and sags his posture over the top of arms so JDM could even, he would turk the bottom leg. Dude, fucking Islam Makhachev's technical attention to detail is not just high, it's borderline comprehensive. If he needs to do single leg attacks, he can do them. If he had the single and then the trap dump. If he needs to do double legs, he can do them. If he needs to do trips, he can do them. Sasai, or Sasai is a trip. A Sasai, he can do it. Various throws, he can do it. And then when when JDM would roll to his base and finally catch an opportunity to get going, where's Islam? Hovering, floating, landing right on top, sagging his weight so JDM can't stand. He's putting one hook in. He's capturing the far side wrist. And all of this is happening not just quickly. It's happening fucking automatically. It's happening automatically. Islam's level of technical detail is punishing for opponents. Dude, that fucking guy is going to be hard to beat. Straight up grappling, Ilya, we'll talk about it. Ilya Topuria ain't fucking beating him in the grappling. Sorry. Oh, I don't give a shit how good he is in the other departments. Can he knock Islam out? Yeah, of course. Could he stuff a couple of takedowns along the way and make it interesting? Absolutely. But like, do I think like if it becomes mostly a grappling affair, do I think Ilya's going to win? Fuck no, I don't. Dude, Islam's got a lifetime of feel matched with technical precision, matched with, in this particular case, the exact right study material. I mean, look at the difference in the fucking abilities. I mean, I honestly said this. I picked Islam on MK, but I don't know. Then I did the tape study. I was like, oh man, JDM's going to go in there and do much better than I thought. And I was like, well, I kind of regret it, but what are you going to do? You're going to let it rock. In the end, man, as good as Bilal Muhammad is, the level of difference between the contemporaries that he was dealing with and Islam in terms of like all the things I've mentioned, it is significant. And then you add in the fact that Islam is like more than competent on the feet. Those leg kicks that he was landing on JDM, they torched him because JDM was trying to stand, I think, in closed stance. So he was matching essentially the stance of Islam. And I think they were doing that to make him go for the double, if at all possible, right? Which would make him potentially go from further away. And I think they like their chances better rather than getting some kind of lift up off of a single and then, getting the takedown from there. Well, sure enough, he was able to even get it anyway. But then the leg kicks made him go open stance. And that just made his problems even worse. He couldn't get anything hardly going from that at all. Then you had in some of those body kicks he was able to land, some of the front kicks that were at least keeping JDM honest, the head kick that was keeping him honest. Dude. I mean, even if you want to say that Islam isn't quite the ground punisher that Khabib is, okay, fine. I'll dial that back from Khabib. If Khabib's like a 9 out of 10, I'll dial it back to like an 8, maybe even a 7, right? But then you dial up the other parts of it in terms of like the well-roundedness of his striking and whatnot. And it's like, dude, that's going to be a real tough guy to beat. They had this dude dead to rights. Those takedowns came easy. And when the takedowns came, he got up, I guess he got up in the first. How many times did he get up in the first? I don't know what it was. Islam, I got some of the numbers here. They're coming in. We don't have the full ones yet. Islam went 4 for 4 on takedowns with over 19. We'll look at these stats here in a minute. With over 19 minutes of control time. Dude, he was way better than JDM. Way better. And yes, if it was just a pure striking bout versus just a pure striking bout, maybe the striking would have looked different. But like, again, the fact that he's got this dynamite grappling game and then this kind of like no bullshit stand-up game to marry it, it's just he's hard to beat. He's hard to beat. Islam Makhachev is easily one of the most special fighters in MMA history. That's not exaggeration. I'm not saying he's the best one, but I'm saying he's at the upper table of ability. He's at the upper table now. I mean, I guess he needs a few more big names on his resume, but like this was, as I said before, and I'll say it again, Khabib doesn't have a win like this. Up a weight class, doing this, and then getting a belt and then blanking the fucking guy. Dude. Islam is insanely special. Now, it wasn't the most dynamic fight I've ever seen, in part because JDM just couldn't get out of first gear. The other part, which is a reality, I think, of the modern game, namely, guys are much harder to hold down than they used to be, so it's limiting what kind of ground and pound you would used to get. So Islam didn't necessarily lay like a hardcore beating on him in that particular way. But in terms of doing the things he needed to do, not just to secure a victory, but to show, first of all, threatening with those arm bars, Kimuras or straight arm bars, depending on what they would have been, a few times, I thought was really interesting. Never got close, but again, keeping him honest, threatening with that Darce choke, keeping him honest. And again, credit to JDM for having answers for it. The one time Islam gets the back and does the BJ Penn bit where he traps the arm with one of the legs, and now 2 hands versus 1. This is a different kind of equation. You know, he survived that as well. Like, he had good grit to work out of these things. But dude, look at the comprehensive nature of what Islam did to him. Beat him up standing, took him down literally whenever the fuck he wanted, kept him down basically as much as he wanted. Didn't lay the hardest beating I've ever seen down, but in terms of what the skill differential was, and never letting Jack ever get out of first gear, that is about as clean a performance as you'll ever see in high-level MMA. Again, one more time. Up a weight class. Up a weight class. And yes, I'll be the first one to admit I've seen Islam dig his fingers into other opponents' gloves. I've seen it. It's not a myth. I've seen it. Did y'all see any of that bullshit tonight? Does it look like that explains how he won various position battles or the fight more broadly? Didn't look that way to me. Looked to me like one guy was infinitely better than the other guy. Look at the variety of takedowns. Trap dump, double, right? How he rode top position, just having his weight distributed over the... That's the one thing I loved. He would have the far side underhook, right? So he'd have head on this side. If this is the head right here, this is the head of JDM. He'd have his head on one side, Islam would, and he'd have the underhook on the other side, right? But then when he didn't have underhook, he'd bring the head over to the same side and then put the chest right pinning on top of JDM, right? So you're using the center point of your chest to now pin them down as well as the arm so they can't get the underhook going. Dude, that is mastery of the craft. Mastery. And he's doing all these other things. We're turking the bottom leg multiple times to prevent turns, threatening that top side arm when he needed to, reaching behind the back, obviously the crossface to stop him from sitting up off octopus guard. Just think about what you have to do to beat a guy like that. Like, all the problems you have to solve. Because, I mean, honestly, that's what you have to think about, right? You're like, when two guys match up, if you're trying to come up with a game plan, you're thinking about what you do better, what they might do better, if you're being honest with yourself, how to avoid those parts of the game if you need to, or then how to, defend yourself if it comes to that, right? Depending on what the particular threat is. Think about how many problems you have to solve for to beat Islam Makhachev. It's endless. Your takedown defense has to be on point. Your scrambling has to be on point. Your hand fighting has to be on point. Your sub defense has to be on point. Your striking better fucking be on point. Again, he's not the best striker in the division, but he'll keep your fucking ass honest if you're not ready to go. That needs to be on point. Your cardio needs to be on point. Like, think about how many fault lines you have to have answers for to beat a guy like that. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming that someone would have this kind of an ability up a weight class in their first fight, and he can do these kinds of things. To watch JDM, and I know people are going to say, well, he only beat Bilal, so now we have to kind of reconsider how good he was. Okay, fine. And JDM's 29. His career's not over. He might be back here again. Again, maybe it's against Islam. I don't know. I'm not saying they're going to get a rematch, but I'm saying he might get a title shot again, and who knows? He might become a champion again. That is absolutely and entirely possible. But at the same time, like, he can train the rest of his life. He'll never catch up to Islam. He'll never have that. By 35 or 34, I guarantee you he still wouldn't be able to beat this 34-year-old version of him. It's too much time. It's too much time in the formative years. It can't be done. Honestly, I'm not saying Islam can't be beaten. At 170 pounds, these guys hit hard. One mistake can prove extremely costly. One failed takedown, he might tear a rib, and then he can't move right, and then he gets, his lights punched out. Like, I'm not telling you he's invincible, but I'm telling you, if he's healthy and he's prepared, and this is not on short notice, brother. I mean, you have to unlock. So you have to pick so many locks. And I just feel like on a night like that, you can pick a couple of them. You can. There's definitely some things you can answer for him. You can make things harder, but the level of offensive detail, the comprehensive nature of it, that is way too much, I think, for almost anybody in that division. I guess I'm curious to see how things go, against a beast like Michael Morales. I'm curious to see what happens if he gets an opportunity against Shavkat Rakhmonov. I mean, there's definitely some interesting fights there that I want to see. And again, I don't think he's invincible, but if he's healthy and he's ready, who is as skilled as him in that division? Answer that question more basically. Who is as comprehensively good, who can play the levels like he can with the specialization that he has, and maybe the most important part of the fight game, which is the grappling and the top control and wrestling? Who's got that? Who matches that at 170? Dude, nobody. Not Rakhmonov. Morales might be able to shut a lot of that down and then beat him up on the feet like he was able to do for Brady today. We'll see. Okay, that's different. Fine. But who is as skilled? Who has the Batman tool belt at 170 like Makhachev? Nobody in that division is like that. That is a unenviable task to fight a guy like that, where even when you scramble and you get to the next stage of where you're going and they're beating you to the punch there too, that is demoralizing. Because when JDM fought Bilal, he's able to start a scramble, get to the next stage, and Bilal's the one kind of playing catch up. Not Islam. Islam knows exactly where you're going and exactly what he needs to do, both in terms of the technical assignment as well as kind of the physicality and the feel of these positions and where they need to be. And did you notice how, like I've said this before, man, what separates Islam is he's not the fucking, bruising marauder that Khabib is, but look at how little he makes mistakes. It's crazy. It's crazy that a guy can fight 25 minutes at this fucking level. You get the idea. There's just no one quite like that. Not at 170. And in the history of MMA, it's also, all those guys were well-rounded and then, had specializations, but another reminder of like the bar of excellence about what you have to do to be able to achieve like that. Now, there's something to be said for JDM in this fight too, which was he looked to be in tremendous condition, but I think he just ran into someone tonight. He felt what it was like to suffer under that guy, and I think he lost confidence. Now, he might have been injured too, in which case, I'll revise this opinion a little bit to say that, did he have a fucked up rib? Because you saw him wincing a lot. I know his leg was messed up. Was that the only thing that was messed up? I don't know. But it looked to me, I'm not going to say he quit or something, but I think that he went in there with an attitude about what this was going to be, and then he felt like what it was actually going to be. And I think it kind of, I think it affected his competitive fire a little bit. Ilya on Twitter, Jack needs an entire camp dedicated just to wrestling. What a disappointment of a champion. You should go to Georgia to learn something. Islam, you need something you can't train, emotion. You're the most boring thing in this game. Every day, I'm more certain I put you to sleep. How would Islam with JDM? I really feel like he's a good fighter, a great fighter, and I think he'll be back and he'll have some great wins, but he was, based on what we learned, he was never going to win tonight. Never. How would Ilya Topuria versus Islam Makhachev go? That's kind of the operative question here. How would that go? Well, it's kind of funny, right? I think Ilya is a genuine KO threat, and I do think he can put up a better first stage defensive wrestling job than JDM did. But if he's not able to knock Islam out early, I think that he eventually gets worn down and beaten too. 145er coming up like that, I did not grow more confident about Ilya's chances based on watching this fight. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't fill me with like great confidence. Oh, wow. I mean, the guy to beat him is clearly Ilya Topuria. I think that the Ilya Topuria fight makes sense for a few reasons. Promotionally, stylistically, and almost a necessity for the sport to make big fights. But did y'all watch that and think, oh yeah, Ilya's definitely gonna, I saw something here. I thought Ilya had a chance before. Now I'm really sure. Did y'all watch that and think that? I didn't. I wouldn't say that's the impression that I got. I take Ilya's chances of winning very seriously, and I do think he can put up a better fight, even as big as Jack is at 170. I absolutely think that. But at the same time, I think that Islam is so fucking comprehensively good. And again, we haven't even talked about the fact that much that this dude went up 15 pounds to do this. He looked plenty strong for me at 170 pounds. That's a tough ass fight. I mean, it would be kind of miraculous is a strong word. It'd be surprising if Ilya was able to win that one, especially if they contest that at 170. So Ilya can hold on to the 55 belt. Do they do that at the White House? Do they do that at some other card? I don't know. I don't know what that would look like. But I didn't watch this fight tonight, as I indicated. I did not watch this fight tonight thinking to myself, wow, man, like Islam is truly invincible. But what I am going to say is it's going to take a special fighter on a special night who's really prepared and understands that, as I've said, again, Islam Makhachev, I cannot believe how little he makes mistakes. Considering how many things he does and the error rate in them, it is astonishing. It is astonishing. People don't make errors in like their real core areas of specialties, right? Or specialty. Like in that one narrow lane, like they're very, very good. But then because of the nature of how like a lack of knowledge can affect you, again, all relatively speaking, then you open yourself up to mistakes in other places. Look at how what does that tell you that he makes so few mistakes and across a vast array of skills? It's just a level of ability that is astonishing skill. So I don't know when he'll be back. I would love to see him on big cards only for him at this point. I know that some people are going to say the fight wasn't that fun. Fair enough. If it wasn't to your liking, it wasn't to your liking. That's okay. I just think that we all need to be very realistic. This was a big fact-finding mission. What's it going to mean for this guy to go from 55 to 70 against a quality opponent like this at this age? You know, is he going to have the gas tank? How's he going to answer for this? How's he going to answer for that? And he answered everything. I can't think of one thing we were worried about pre-fight that he didn't answer for. Does he have enough pop at 170? I guess we can wait and find out. But those leg kicks look pretty fucking damaging. I can tell you that. The body kicks look pretty good. And then everything else, as we mentioned. That is a very, very special fighter. And it's going to take another extremely special fighter on a very inspired performance to beat somebody like that. By the way, we got a poll up. 82% of viewers think Islam has surpassed Khabib. I think he has too. We should talk about that for just a second. Do y'all agree? It seems like y'all do. Y'all agree that Islam Makhachev has surpassed Khabib Nurmagomedov? Dude, Khabib doesn't have a win like this. As we mentioned, the argument in favor of Khabib has kind of always been that he was the vanguard of this whole movement. He was the one that was leading it from the front. You know, and again, like he had this sort of combination of passing, top control, ground and pound, and submission threat, and just kind of rinsed and repeat in a way that no one else really had before. And he was punishing and all that kind of stuff. And he went undefeated. Okay, fair enough. But he doesn't have a win on his resume as good as this one. Up a weight class, blanking the guy. Let's get these final numbers here. Let's take a look at them. Dude, 4 for 4 on 19 minutes. I mean, are you shitting me? Now, kind of anemic numbers from both of them in the striking, 4 and 3, but he had top control and 352, so that's going to do a lot. But then from there on out, I think he wins. Oh, Islam landed no significant strikes in round 5. That doesn't sound right. 22 regular strikes. I don't know what that. I'd have to see what that means. But none of us really got the sense that was the limiting factor. JDM kind of dividing it up a little bit, but a huge division. And again, those leg kicks, the leg kicks from Islam, played a significant role as well. Yeah, 50, 45. I don't think anyone's really complaining. Dude, look at that. 140 of 181 attempted strikes. Dude, just 30 of 74 for JDM. Is that the lowest he's ever had? How much did he have against Bilal? Look at what he had against Bilal. 178. 18. That's crazy. Islam beat the bags off of him.